The history of the Philippines is a very wild ride, to say the least. And as we evolved as a state nation, our system of education evolved with it as well. Well, for better or for worse. We have had major setbacks, amendments, and innovations. Now here is a timeline of the Philippine education throughout the eras. In the pre-colonial period, the education of tribes were solely vocational. Men were trained to become hunters and warriors, while the women were trained to become the healers and gatherers for the tribe. It was also a time where most communities did not have a written language as well, so people have resorted to using oral tradition to pass down information on medicine and every aspect of community life. Some communities, however, used baybayin as their writing system to pass their tradition down to the next generation. Formal education was then introduced by the Spaniards as they invaded our land and made it one of their colonies. Religious orders conducted most of the education at the time, establishing the first schools for boys and girls. They taught Christianity, the Spanish language, and Spanish culture to the Filipinos. On 1589, the Jesuits founded the first colegio in the Philippines, or the Universidad de San Ignacio, which was then integrated into the University of Santo Tomas. It is also important to note that colegios were only open for boys and the beaterios were for the girls, where they were taught how to be proper women. The Spanish also introduced the printing press to publish books in Spanish and in Tagalog. The first recorded published book dates back to 1590. They also had the Educational Decree of 1863, which provided a free public school system for boys and girls. At the beginning of the short-lived First Republic, after more than 3 centuries of Spanish colonialism, the schools maintained by Spain were briefly closed down but were reopened on August 29, 1898. The first law school, military academy, and the Literary University of the Philippines were then established. Article 23 of the Malolos Constitution mandated that the public education would be free and obligatory in all schools across the nation. The First Republic would be cut short, however, due to the Philippine-American War. During the Commonwealth period in 1899, the Americans opened 7 schools in Manila with 7 Army servicemen as teachers. In 1901, an experimental public school system was opened and they learned that there was a severe shortage of teachers relative to the enrollment rate of the students. The Americans had to bring in 1,000 teachers from the US who were called the Thomasites. Several laws were enacted in 1902 in support of opening public high schools and special educational institutions, School of Arts and Trades, commerce, and marine institutions. However, high schools did not emerge until the year 1910, which were created to focus on equipping students with practical job skills. The Gabaldon Law of 1907 was enacted to fund ₱1 million for the construction of concrete high school buildings due to the steady increase in enrollment, and the Reorganization Act of 1917 enacted the Philippinization of policy of the government. In 1947, during the Third Republic, President Manuel Rojas issued the Executive Order No. 94, renaming the Department of Instruction into the Department of Education. The regulation and supervision of public and private schools would belong to the Bureau of Public and Private Schools at the time. In 1972, the Department of Education would be renamed into the Department of Education and Culture, or DEX, under the Proclamation No. 1081, which was signed by former President Ferdinand Marcos. In the same year, on September 24, DEX was decentralized and the decision-making would be shared among its 13 regional offices. In 1978, the Presidential Decree No. 1397, DEX became the Ministry of Education and Culture. In 1982, the Educational Act would be issued. This act provided an integrated educational system covering both formal and non-formal education at all levels. This act sought to upgrade the educational institution standards to achieve quality education through accreditation. It also provided government financial assistance to private schools and created the Ministry of Education, Culture, and Sports. During the Fifth Republic, a new constitution was ratified, and a key aim of which was to make elementary school compulsory for all children. In 1987, the Ministry of Education, Culture, and Sports became DEX again under the Executive Order No. 117. The Congress enacted the Republic Act No. 6655 on May 26, 1988, mandating the free public secondary education for all, and on February 3, 1992, the Republic Act 7323 was enacted, providing that students aged 15 to 25 may be employed during the Christmas and summer vacations. On 1994, the trifocal educational system was enacted, creating the CHED and TESDA, while DEX retained the responsibility for all elementary and secondary education. In August 2001, the Governance of Basic Education Act or the Republic Act No. 9155 was passed, renaming the DEX into the current Department of Education that we know today. The goal of this act was to provide students with skills, knowledge, and values to become caring, self-reliant, productive, and patriotic citizens. In 2006, the Education for All 2015 National Action Plan was implemented, and its goal was to provide basic competencies for everyone to achieve functional literacy for all. In January 2009, the Department of Education signed a Memorandum of Agreement with the United States Agency for International Development to seal $86 million in assistance to Philippine education. In 2010, President Benigno Aquino III expressed his desire to implement the K-12 program, which would add 2 more years in the secondary level to provide world-class quality education for all. It was implemented in 2011 but was enacted into law to guarantee its continuity, and continue it did. The second decade of the 21st century experienced a major improvement in the Philippines' educational system, and it's guaranteed to continue improving in the years and decades to come. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this video, and if you do liked it, please do make sure to subscribe and like this video for more upcoming videos. Thank you so much everyone. Goodbye!